Good evening. Welcome to Self-Talk. My name is William Neal and I'm your host. As always, I will attempt to demonstrate here tonight some techniques in the form of short sentences, which we call axioms. These are rules for governing behavior, for diminishing fear, anxiety, for stopping panic attacks, for checking your anger. You may be saying things to your loved ones, those that are near and dear to you, and hurting their feelings, although that is not your intention and you wish that you could stop. Well, with the consistent application of these techniques, you will be able to make your external reality fall in line with that internal image you have of yourself as a mature and rational individual. All right, let's get right into tonight's lesson. Self-Talk is a how-to program, so we teach you how to diminish symptoms, distressing symptoms of all kinds. Our example tonight comes from the Recovery International website, from the Examples Forum, and the topic is the passion for self-distrust, and the author is James. Quick background. I am a student and I'm approaching the end of my schooling. Beginning in mid-April, I will be doing a 16-week full-time internship. After this internship, I will graduate. Now, there's a 4-step process to diminishing the symptoms. And it takes a few minutes to read this example, but it only takes seconds to apply the steps. First step is to recall the situation, the time, the event, people, places, and things, the things that happened. Step 1, event. I called and left a message for the supervisor where I'll be doing the internship. Before, during, and after the call, I was having anxious feelings about these 16 weeks of work. I definitely began to work myself up. Step 2 is to list the symptoms. Symptoms are heart beating very fast, my body tensing up, racing thoughts. The racing thoughts were about my ability to perform on this internship. I felt fearful temper about being in a new situation where I will have to prove myself. I was fearful about the nervous fatigue and lowered feelings that I know I'll experience. Now, first he illustrates nervous fatigue, which is a general tired feeling. Your limbs feel heavy as though a tremendous weight were holding you down. Well, using this kind of language, nervous fatigue, or saying I'm so tired I can hardly move. My limbs feel as though they weigh a ton. All this is what we call temperamental lingo. It is language that it increases, intensifies, exacerbates, and makes the tiredness or any of these symptoms I'm having that goes along with that, the racing thoughts, it makes them worse. So, because it's like buzz words, emotionally laden words that intensify and increase and works us up instead of working us down. First he labels it nervous fatigue, and then he says lowered feelings. We say lowered feelings, and that indicates that we can make them rise. So we're not scaring ourselves by a fatalism of diction. I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted. So he says lowered feelings that I know I'll experience. I was fearful about having to work full-time after the internship. And he says in parentheses, start a new job, I'll have to prove myself again, and more uncomfortable fatigue / lowered feelings. So these are the symptoms. Now all this is a process of diminishing symptoms. The first step, the name, the event, the people, places, and things. 2, labeling the symptoms. We're starting to use the rational portion of our brain, which is mutually exclusive of emotion. So we cannot be emotional and logical at the same time. And why are we seeking logic? To become objective. And being objective with emotion largely out of the picture now, our symptoms begin to diminish automatically. As the more objective we become, the more our symptoms diminish. It is applying the 4-step process. Each step we get more and more objective, and our symptoms lower more and more. Continuing on now, step 3. This is where we label, we spot our symptoms, physical and mental. We're like shining a spotlight on them. Now they're out in the open. Now we can use the axioms to diminish them, dispel them, to lower them. This is becoming objective as we use step 3 to analyze the feelings that we're having. Which of our behaviors is increasing or will increase, intensify our distressing symptoms? Which of our actions will diminish them? Work them down, in other words. Spotting. When we say spot, you can say, I realized, I understood, I began to know. These are synonymous with the word spot. To realize, to understand. It came to me. So James says, I spot that it is average to have anxiety about taking on an internship and a new job. Routine. Typical. Anyone would have these feelings, be a little anxious. So now we're not alone. We're not feeling bizarre or strange, or like we're the only one this is happening to. I spot, I realize, that I can strive for average performance, routine performance, ordinary, normal performance. Doesn't have to apply a superhuman effort. It's striving for perfection that gives us tension and stress. And as I say here often on self-talk, perfection is a dream, a hope, an illusion. It's futile. The Borg said resistance is futile. Self-talk says perfection is futile. It's the striving for it that increases, intensifies stress and tension. So if we lower our performance for a routine, ordinary, average performance, what the average person would be satisfied with, then the stress is removed. The tension diminishes. With the tension and stress diminishing, our performance, mental and physical, actually improves because we're no longer tense and we're no longer have our thoughts befuddled by confusion because we're no longer under stress. Continuing on now. I spot, I realize that I can strive for average performance. I don't need to be exceptional. I don't need to be a super dad, a super worker, a super employee, a martyr, angel, a saint, doing more than a human being could possibly do. These are the things we tell ourselves that cause ourselves stress. We have to do that. We have to get it perfect. Or what will the others say? Threat to the social personality. How will we be perceived by other people? But once I label this threat to social personality, I'm telling myself, oh, I'm having fearful temper. I'm worried about what other people think. And I can calm down because I can realize what's really important here, my mental health. And so I apply the axioms consistently, try, fail, try, succeed, and I can calm down. Remembering just to do what an ordinary human would do. And we're not saying do a shoddy job or do a partial job. Average doesn't mean that we're not going to do our best. Of course we are. It simply means to remember that we're stressing ourselves out by striving for perfection, having an excessive sense of responsibility, more than the average person would do. In other words, a lot of stress and tension is caused because we don't know when the job is satisfactory or meets the criteria that is demanded. A little confusion there. As nervous persons are suffering from stress, we'll often say, well, I'm so tired, I'm so tired. But we're always doing another task. We don't know when to stop. Excessive sense of responsibility is pushing us beyond what the task calls for. Continuing on. I spot, or I understand that it's hard to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. So now there's no need for me to blame myself if anyone would be uncomfortable in this situation. Knowing that, I also feel all alone, isolated, as if I'm the only one. No one can possibly understand what I'm going through.